Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Today I'm going to share with you my 15 tips for safely storing generator gas long term. My dead simple gas storage and rotation system, and at the end, my 5 pieces of gear that I keep on hand that makes transferring gas dead simple and almost drip free. Number 1, always use fuel stabilizer. Modern gas, especially if it has ethanol in it. So find a fuel stabilizer that works for you. There's a bunch on the market. Stable, SIPHON, and PRI-G are the 3 top brands. Standardize on a single style of can. I don't care which one you want. It doesn't matter which one it is. The most important thing is to standardize on a single style. Say you only have 2 cans and you break the nozzle on one, you can always swap it out. It's great to be able to scavenge parts off one or the other. Don't store in an attached garage. Now, that doesn't mean you can't store it in a garage if you want to, but just be wary that if it ever caught on fire, you wouldn't want it too close to your home. Try to get it at least 50 feet away from any living structure. Inspect your containers regularly. This is something that most people don't do, especially in the warm weather. Go in once a month and just take a look at your containers. I actually had one, a fairly new container. A few years back, I went in and I could smell gas in my storage area, and it had pinprick hole right down the seam of it, and it was shooting the most minute stream of gas out of the container. Store non-ethanol gas if you have any choice at all. Now, where I live, up here in Alberta, it's damn near impossible to get. But if you live down in the southern states, or states where they still allow it, get yourself non-ethanol. Because the biggest reason is ethanol binds with water and it ends up ruining your gas. The cooler the better for storage location. If you can keep your containers from going whoop, whoop, because that's what they'll do if you're using plastic containers in untempered controlled areas. If you're using old containers, clean them thoroughly. I'm speaking from experience, trust me on this. You can use some old gasoline if there was oil or something in there. Put a little gasoline in it, shake it up really hard. Make sure you have somewhere you can dispose of old used gasoline, and then repeat that process 3 times. Don't fill above the nominal level. Now, you might not know that a gas can has a nominal level. You might say, Tim, I can fit an extra gallon in there or an extra 5 liters. Well, don't do it. If you look on the side of your gas can, there'll be a line that says, do not fill above this level. The reason for that is because in the summer, they expand and they want to push it out through the top. Wherever you store it, make sure it has ventilation. Whatever you do, especially if it's warm in your environment, do not leave it in an unventilated area. If you need to store it outside, well, here's an idea. Think about urban camouflage. I had a guy message me a few years back and he sent me a picture to show me. He only had an outdoor area to store a few gallons of gas for his generator. Had nowhere safe indoors to store it, so he put it outside. He put a pallet, an old tarp, and some garbage wood around it. Consider storing it underground. Take an old fridge, an old freezer, dig a hole in the ground, put it down there. That's going to be a much safer area to store gasoline. Plus, it's going to be more temperate and a lot cooler. Considering upgrading to NATO jerry cans or NATO style jerry cans. Those are the square-sided, a little bit taller, 3-handled on the top, all metal construction. Harbor Freight sells a decent version of them, not as good as Army surplus. If you live in the country, look at fuel delivery. You can talk to a bunch of your different fuel delivery companies and see some places will even furnish you with a 100 or 200 gallon fuel tank if you set up for automatic delivery. How great would it be to always have 200 gallons of fresh fuel on hand? Look into what firefighters are going to have to deal with if they ever have to come and extinguish your storage area. Look into what your insurance company is going to do if they ever find out that you have 2, 3, 6, 12 5-gallon jugs of gas. Think about switching to propane or a dual fuel generator, especially if you're concerned about storage distance from your home or the possibility of non-ventilated areas that can go boom. Maybe think about storing propane instead. Propane will last forever, and of course, because I can't just stick to 15, here's one final bonus tip. Don't overthink it. Don't feel like you need to do it all at once. 1 can of gas on hand is better than 95% of all folks out there. Cheap Walmart fuel stabilizer is better than none at all. Ethanol gas is fine if that's all you can get or all you can afford. Remember, don't let the best get in the way of the good. The most important thing is getting off your duff and getting started. First, we talked about tips. Now let's talk about the dead simple fuel rotation system. You're going to start with 1, 2, or 3 5-gallon containers. Whatever you can afford, whatever your space allows. If you want to, you can work up to 6 or 12 5-gallon containers. Next, you're going to label each can with a Sharpie, 1 through 12 if you have 12 cans. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to represent each month of the year. Number 3, fill one up each month. That way you're not spending too much money. An extra $20 or $30 a month compared to trying to go out and fill 12. That way you're only spending a little extra, and by the end of your cycle, whether it's 3 months or 12 months, you'll then have all these full canisters that aren't going to cost you any extra to fill. Number 4, each month, dump the oldest can into your vehicle. So right now it's November. At the end of the month, I'm going to dump number 11 into my truck. Step number 5, take the empty canister and add your amount of stabilizer to it that you're going to need. Step number 6, take that empty canister to the gas station with you, put it in the back of your truck or whatever. When you fill up your vehicle, just fill up that canister as well. That way it didn't actually cost you anything. Number 7, add that can back to the rotation. You don't have to actually rotate them if you don't want to, since they're numbered. You now have 6 or 12 gallons of gas that only cost you an extra $20 to $30 a month, and you didn't have to spend any extra going forward. Just like I promised, 5 pieces of gear that I use for gas transferring that's made my life a ton easier. Number 1, fuel stabilizer, but not just any fuel stabilizer, PRI-G. This is the top brand of fuel stabilizer on the market. They also make a diesel version, just replace the G with a D. This is the only stuff that you can reapply to gas every year to store it indefinitely. Number 2 is a NATO style fuel can. Now this one is not an Army surplus. If you can get Army surplus, all the better. I actually picked this one up at Harbor Freight. But what I like about this, all metal. It's not going to spring a leak like the plastic one does. 3 handles on top, much easier to handle. You can take this, throw it in the back of your truck, go somewhere. It's not going to break. It's not going to spring a leak. It is a lifetime purchase. Does it cost more? Yes. So don't start there. But if you want to upgrade your fuel storage system, check out NATO cans or the knockoffs from Harbor Freight. Number 3 are these little yellow guys right here. Now, depending on where you're from, this may or may not apply to you, but a few years ago in Canada, they took the back vent off and put the vent in the front, built into the spout. What an absolute piece of garbage. I found these on Amazon or eBay. You can get them either place. You drill a 7/16 hole right in here. You push that with a lot of force, and you now have a handy dandy vent cap, which makes your gas pour easier, faster, and cleaner. Number 4, a shaker siphon. If you haven't seen one of these before, these are pretty darn cool, and they work really, really well. They got a little copper valve here. If you can see inside, there's like a glass marble or a ball in there, and it's called a shaker valve for one reason. You put this down in the fuel container, and then you put the end further down, and you just take this and you shake it like this. And each time you hear that glass ball go, it pulls a little more fluid up and then locks it off so it can't come back through. So it gradually works its way up. A completely off-grid way to move gas from one container to another that doesn't involve putting your mouth on the suction hose. Number 5, my most recent purchase, a battery-powered siphon pump for gas. I picked this up at Canadian Tire in Canada, but there's all kinds of these on Amazon and eBay as well. This one is the battery-powered stick. You just stick it down in, turn it on, hold that out, pull the lever, and it'll pump gas. And if you're interested in any of this stuff, you want to do a little more research, I'll throw some links in the description below so you can check it out. So if you're going down the fuel storage path and you're interested in how to transfer gas more safely, check out the review I did right here on an inexpensive battery-powered gas transfer pump. If you stuck around to the end of this video, then that means I'm making the right kind of content. So if you want more videos just like this, hammer the sub button and stick around. Become part of the workshop community. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.